Hello, fearless gamers, and welcome to another podcast. I keep saying podcast, but I've been titling this as Touching Base. So, welcome to another episode of Touching Base here on
Yeah,
Fearless Games.
Touching Base was ostensibly a podcast, but
Touching
it's very,
base
very
podcast based
Y-
touching
You're right, you're
podcast.
right. It was
yeah,
effectively a podcast.
yeah. I mean, for whatever a podcast is,
Yeah,
at this point.
who
Yeah,
knows?
welcome back.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
where
we're continuing our trend here. We will touch probably a little bit on episodes 6 if there was any other points we didn't get to before Zoom cut us off. And then
Mhm.
we'll go into episode 7, which is the most latest episode of the show to come out at this point of recording.
Mhm.
yes, and I believe we were just getting started on light whips, but
Oh, yes, we were
Yeah,
talking about
look,
Vanestra Rowe is her name?
I
Vernestra Row. Yeah,
Vanestra
yeah,
Rowe, yeah.
interesting.
The one character I hate is the one's name I can remember.
See, I will give her the fact that like when the doofus Jedi is like, well, the only one who knows Force is soul. Did he turn? She's like, that's a bold accusation. How dare you? It's like, really, of all the people, Saul? But like, also Light Whip is just like, we have a hard enough time accepting a blade going to a certain length and coming back. Why are you gonna give us a whip?
yeah. I mean,
And
like,
I
good.
think my main problem with it is how she does it. It's, oh, she attached an electromagnetic field device to the hilt and now she can bend the whip. I was like, the Knights of Ren had a more reasonable way of doing it. It was just little mini projectors on a chain link and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't care about that part. The science in Star
No,
Wars has never
but
been
it's just silly
sound.
on
The
top
pro-
of silly.
the problem I have with it is kind of silly, and then just like also they've been in the franchise since like we were teenagers,
Yeah,
20
they were
years ago.
introduced in like the comic series.
Yeah, the comics and probably maybe one of the books or something, or maybe one of the games. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the first instance was. The problem I have with it is like it's very clearly an attempt to make character special.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like if this were a thing that in universe was reasonable to achieve and effective to use, you would see more than like 6 people in the history of the world using it. Like you look at and I've let's not get too hard into realism, but you look at
No.
the real life, and it's like we have swords widely used, not as widely used as people think, but widely used. They're effective in their own way.
Mhm.
Spears, incredibly effective, used in every culture on the planet.
Yep.
Bows, axes, hammers. Like there's such a variety of weapons in life, and we don't see nearly that variety in lightsabers until you get to the light whip, which is like
Why?
it's a teenager's like it's an edgy teenager
It-
thing,
And
and that's fine, but it's like stop.
And the other thing is like we've seen some cool lightsaber designs, like the cane sword from that one dude in the comic series. Um, and
Mhm.
just like though, again, like you said, really trying to dig into real life here is a little like
Yeah,
wide,
like
but
it's pointless to really get
yeah,
realistic with it,
but
but you can
think
take
of it.
inspirations from life.
She would
Oh,
be
for sure.
terrible. Like if I was a Padawan or a Jedi and I was going with Vanestra Rowe, I'd be like, okay, how far does your whip go? Okay, stay that far away from me, because when you start swinging that thing, I don't want to be in your path.
Well, no, I don't know if this applies to all of them, but her lightsaber in particular, it goes from saber to whip. She has 2 modes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm
So
just
when
saying,
she's around somebody, arguably she's using the
yeah,
sword instead of the whip. Which is another thing I have with her. Another problem I have with her lightsaber is that she gets to do both. It's like
yeah,
fuck off. Just
and
make her
Yeah.
pick one. Like,
yeah,
I,
they put too, like we said in the past, too many specials.
yeah, they
When she was
sprinkled
in
her
a
with too
group of
much.
people, they could have distributed the special out.
Yeah, yeah.
I just
Which
feel like bonus points for doing something live action a little bit different from just having a hilt blade or whatever.
yes,
But
yes.
I also I think it's silly when I saw it. It looks silly, right? It just visually looked weird.
Yeah, the way it
But
was animated wasn't great.
no, but one thing I will say I like about it is that take away the context of whips and cultures, right? Which is
Right.
pretty oppressive thing. It puts a dark spin in her immediately because now you have this light whip that presumably she could just block a blade and then make it whip you in the face. Like it
Right,
feels very
right.
un-Jedi. Put it to you that way. It feels dirty.
it certainly could be used in that way, absolutely. And yeah, I do give them points for putting this new thing into live action. Like, yes, it's been in books and comics, and it's easier to accomplish that in there.
Yeah.
But putting it in live action, I do commend them for having the balls to show it.
Yeah.
I just like that
I don't
they
think it
are-
worked, but I appreciate the
Yeah.
attempt.
Yeah.
I just like that it's there. The same reason why, well, not that it's not on the same level as why I like Cortosis, but that it's here because it's like, hey,
Right.
stuff that originally was, EU basically is now here.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
with
that's
no
fair.
ifs, ands, or buts.
Yeah,
It's like-
they're tapping more into the EU and going, wait, even though this stuff isn't canon, there's nothing stopping us from bringing it back.
Mhm.
right.
Especially in situations where it works, like the Cortosis armor. Even
Mhm.
again, even aside from what we saw it happen in episode 5, I kind of like the other implication of it in episode 6, where it's a sensory dampering device, so you could kind of clear your mind. And I like how that episode ended with that.
Yeah. And
You know,
that,
it kind of reminded with the helmet over Osha's face at the end of the episode reminds me of in one of the Halloween movies, we get the perspective from behind Michael's mask.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like it reminds me of that, like, oh,
Yep.
oh, this man's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Like,
And-
oh fuck. Because
and,
you do get just enough to
Yep,
be able to
that-
like not trip.
Yeah, just enough. And although with the soundscape and everything, I'm like, great. There's gonna be Freddie or Bonnie about to jump scare us now because it just recently reminded me of that. I was like, oh
Fucking-
no.
I
Fucking
was
Five
half
Nights
thinking-
in
I was
Chimeras.
half I was half thinking, I'm like, are they going to try and do a jump scare at this point?
Right.
Because
No,
they're really setting it up for one.
I think Smilo Ren is the jump scare.
Yeah, right. But and then just to retouch on the light whip thing, we all saw the scar in his back, which I loved the whole way they used him in that entire episode because he wasn't the whole "I'm the master, I will dominate you, and you'll be what I want you to be." He's more so like, look, it's semantics, bruh.
Yeah, he
Really.
was really
It's
like,
just like-
he was really diplomatic about it. He was like a nice guy, which like
Yeah,
more flies with honey, bro. Like,
yeah.
You should probably, if you're going to steal my ship, do it now because the tide's coming in and it's going
Yeah.
to be a pain in the butt later.
Also,
Right.
if you're not gonna
Also-
get in here, I'm putting some clothes on. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Can we also just take a moment to acknowledge that if you watch her closely, she looked at his fucking dick.
Oh,
she
she sorta did.
she snuck
She
a
took
peek
a
at the
glance.
hog.
She
She
took
took
a
a glance at the hog. She couldn't help it. So I was like, you know what? Honestly, in that circumstance, dude's ripped. I probably would have looked too. And I'm like, I gotta know, bro. I'm sorry. Like Smilo, like I knew one of my buddies saw Smilo Ren in the shower, said he had a eight pack since Smilo Ren is shredded.
But yeah, it's just
But the
I like the scar on his back, and obviously they had to show us a light whip because they went with
Yes.
that for a reason.
yes, I think that was an intentional part of that shot. Like I mentioned
Yeah.
last episode,
Oh.
I do think the light whip establishing shot was intentional, not just to show us that it's a thing, but to
Yeah.
to foreshadow. I think it was my theory is that it was twofold. Foreshadow the potential connection between Vernestra and Chimere with
Mhm.
his scars, because his scars didn't quite look fully lightsabery.
Yeah.
And also there's scars on his back. What do you do with a whip?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
also I think it's a misdirect because we've seen, okay, she has a light whip and it's purple. She can't possibly be a Sith. I think she's either gonna have secret red lightsaber or button that makes her lightsaber red.
Hmm.
'Cause I
And then
still
this
think
button is for partying.
she's got so many buttons on this fucking thing. I don't know what any of them do.
So many
But
kyber
I
crystals.
still firmly believe that she will be the mastermind behind it all.
I was
They-
thinking that, and the only reason why I have a wonder is
Mhm.
because of episode 7.
Okay, go on.
Because Zabrak lady Coral.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing her in that episode or in the prior episode as a body, and she kind of just vanished.
Sure, we haven't seen the body,
Yeah.
but
We haven't seen her body yet.
But we've seen her do the whole like woo, and then she's gone. So like,
yeah,
Like-
I could be Coral, but
I'm not saying
don't
that
think it
Vanessa
is,
doesn't
'cause
have
she
a
didn't-
part. I just
Coral
feel
didn't
like
seem that powerful is the thing.
Yeah.
she didn't, but she also seemed like a catalyst, if you will, for some for like maybe Venestra's still there, but maybe it's Venestra and like Coral and Chimera.
Oh yeah,
like, this
maybe
weird.
there could be
Yeah.
Coral could have a connection for
Yeah,
sure.
there could
I don't
be-
think Coral's behind it all, but
Yeah.
I will admit Coral could have involvement for sure because
Yeah.
we
Because
don't
he
know that she's dead.
especially because he said like he wants the power of two. I'm like, well, why do you know this? Like, what?
Yeah.
That's fair.
That's one thing I will say is about the witch cult is very much like the witches of Dathomir. When I see them, the first thing I don't think of is like Jedi Sith kind of mentality. I don't see them running around with lightsabers or doing that kind of stuff. I
Right.
see them being more mystical in that
Oh,
sense.
100%. But like in that episode, she's like, then get mad. I kind of view that as like, well, then
Mm.
let's get pissed. Like let's
Yeah.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah, using the power of emotion as a
Yep.
thing within the Force is
I
is a
also
thing.
don't really view them. I'm not that they're not powerful, but I think power can be judged in different ways.
That's
so
fair.
like when Indara basically like quells the beast quite literally, and they all kind of just snap dead. I view that as a combination of she didn't kill them, like exertion of them doing a ritual, kind of like when Luke dies from his ritual. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they needed so many to overpower such a well-trained gigantic beast.
Well, I've seen I've seen a couple theories, and I think some of the theories I've seen are really good. And I have a general like more vague theory on it, and that the first theory I thought is like they might still have been in Kelnaka. She might not have pushed them out. She might have just severed the link between their bodies and their souls, and that's why we see in Kelnaka's hut all the symbols that we see of that clan. Like they're still in his ass, and maybe that's why he like actually went into exile. He's like, I'm full of witches. I have to go.
I'm going crazy.
Right. My like sort of extension of that theory, I look at it as until we have that fully confirmed, we can't say for sure that that's what happened. But clearly, Indara severing that link, however way she did it, either knocked out every single witch and they all died in the fire, or killed them because their bodies and their souls were disconnected in some way, and that killed them.
It definitely seems like a weird magical feedback loop did something, but it's not like she went and went, you die and you die and you die. And
right. It's more of a when hood magic goes wrong.
Right. Basically, can we just appreciate that fight though? Like that was so cool.
I found the first part of it underwhelming. I thought Kelnaka was a little.
Yeah,
I know. I'm talking about Kelnaka as well.
Yeah,
I found Kelnaka a little bit slow. I would have preferred that they give him a larger lightsaber, like a little bit longer, to be more appropriate with his reach. And I wish they had pulled from like German longsword techniques or something and shown that like with a creature of this strength, he's not just doing big wide sweeps with the thing. He can do ridiculous shit. Because he's got these big, strong arms. Why is he not just a fucking ball of death?
Yep.
Once he lost the lightsaber, or when he was doing more with his hands, that's when I was like, "Oh, you got me. You got me in."
I agree. When I watched that, I'm like, he's kind of beastly here. Like he's kind of like, but I went, well, they possessed him. He's in rage mode.
He doesn't have full access to his technique for sure.
I also appreciate what I appreciate about the beginning fight with the lightsaber is that when he's swinging at them, you can tell the force behind it. Like they blocked, but they're like, "Oh, I'm over here now."
Oh yeah,
and it's just like, and
I'm not saying he didn't seem threatening. Visually, I found it unengaging.
I really like the force pull into the wall to try to cut you in half moment. I'm like, gee, relax, bro. It's just like I like that's how. And I saw a lot of stuff online of like Saul hate. I'm like, look, we're omnipresent viewers. If I had the same like unfortunate, somewhat misinformation that Saul had, I would have acted very similarly.
Yeah.
Everything he figured out that he divined was there's a problem here. We have to stop it. And Dara was totally right though on every single accord. We stepped too far. We should interfere. We should take this slow. But he didn't do it. Like he did something wrong. I mean, I think Torben screwed up worse. He did something wrong, but fueled by information he thought he had to do something.
I think the big reveal here wasn't so much that the Jedi are evil or Soul fucked up. To me, the big reveal is that the whole thing was caused by Anastasia. Because if she hadn't taken that time to go into Torben's mind and fuck with him, he would not have been so off balance that in that moment he went, fuck it. Leroy Jenkins, I'm getting on the
Yeah.
fucking speeder and we're going now.
Yep.
They might have been able to rein him in before
Oh,
departure and
Yep.
go into
100%.
that situation more prepared.
Yep. I did
Absolutely.
But
appreciate that it
she was panicking, so I get it, like
Yeah.
Yep. And the whole fact, like, I kind of like that. I was like, wow, it didn't need to be these grand moments. It was, he wanted to go home and he was
Yeah.
trying to
yes,
find the
I
fastest
loved
way
that.
to go home.
I loved that was like, because it makes sense that Jedi are gonna have desires, and those are gonna be things that they're struggling against at all times. Soul's desire, very clearly, he wanted the Padawan for whatever reason. That was what he wanted. And Dara's desire was to, I don't know, do her duty. She seemed to be the most
Level-headed.
level-headed and like into the, passionate for the task kind of thing. And the fact that Torben just wanted to go back to the city.
Yeah.
Like bro, mood. Like, you get me out in the woods for more than a couple of days and I'm like, dude, I want to go to a 7-Eleven. Come on.
Yeah.
It's hot out here. There are bugs. The moths are the size of fucking St. Bernards. Can we just go home? And so I really liked that. It really humanized Torben for me.
Yeah.
I like that the motivations were not what I thought it was. Like, because when we were originally talking, it was like, oh, the Jedi are going to come in, they're going to slaughter everybody because they want the kids. Like, no, this was a classic case of people wanting stuff and misinformation causing all these
Yes.
different pieces.
It was sort of people looking and talking past each other.
This was a
Like,
drama version of Tucker and Dale versus Evil without the deaths and everything. It was a clear case of miscommunication.
Right.
And another thing I appreciated is when they were tying in, like what Soul was doing during these scenes, I was looking back and going, actually, no, yeah, there is a noise made in the hallway that forces her to go look. Like, it wasn't he was there the whole time. It was,
they set that up pretty
they
well.
set it up
actually.
well to keep the continuity where there wasn't wait a minute.
The RPG in me was like, bro, you're lucky they failed their awareness checks in their ritual. We were just blatantly on top of a roof watching them. Like, you're a not
selfie. Their passive perception is dog shit, bro.
I was just like, bro, and I thought you were being a Jedi Sentinel here. What's going on? You're not hiding at all.
And I also liked how they brought up the hyperspace lane incident.
Yes.
And
yes, I'm glad that we at least got a verbal nod to that.
Yep. And it made more sense because, like, at the first I was like, what's going on here and blah blah. Like, I didn't realize that they were the only civilization on that planet.
Yeah.
Which
at least that had been discovered. For
which
all we know,
made more sense when the Zabrak woman was like, "You gotta hide yourself." I was like, "Was she making a big deal? They live in like a city area, and then they're the only ones here."
And they fled to there.
Yeah.
Which explains why they're so kind of paranoid, is that they left whatever bad situation they were in to come
and they
to
found a planet that was classified as dead.
Right. It's like, oh well, nobody's gonna fucking look for us here.
Yep.
Exactly.
And then the Jedi are there looking for something else and stumble across them.
Well, I really like that whole setup that they weren't tracking the witches, and even though they were there until Saul's like, "Hey,
they're there." But there are trees on this planet. There aren't supposed to be trees on this planet. Send somebody to check that out.
Which I want to know, I want to know the origins of that mission. Like, a random space hobo is like, guys, you're never gonna believe it.
Yeah, well, basically, it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was basically when the planet got hit by the debris from the ship. I forget the name of the ship.
Yeah, I do too, but yeah.
They classified that it was going to take forever for that planet's ecosystem to bounce back, and it bounced back quicker. So most likely it's a jump point, and someone jumped there and went, "That planet's green again." And then
there are any number of reasons. There could be the Jedi could send out satellites on occasion to these.
I just wanted to be some random drunkard space truck where it's like, bro,
he got lost.
You have no idea. There are trees. Like,
I had to pull over to take a piss, and they're just like, there's wildlife,
trees to pee on.
Yeah, exactly. I did see one theory about, like, because there is a vergence on Brendock. That was the whole reason they were there. The theory I saw, I don't know if they'll touch on it, but I do think it's a solid lead. Is that the vergence is that tree, like the yellow tree?
Yeah, I could definitely.
I can't remember the name of it.
The Bunta tree.
Bunta tree, thank you. Yeah. The fact, like, it being the Bunta tree actually would work, because it's like that tree basically fucking glows. Osha would go there when she was feeling kind of shitty to, like, recenter herself. Like,
It makes sense that
Makes sense.
there's something
It
to that.
stands out from everything else. It makes sense.
And
Yeah,
it kills
made
you.
a lot of sense. I would back that theory.
Yeah, I back it too. I really like when we were going through this because I didn't know exactly how many episodes were going to be in here or what their plans were. I'm like, okay, this could be the second of maybe 3 ways to go back here. And not saying we couldn't flash back to something else.
Yeah.
But I feel like we saw the truth here with how everything went down because we saw beyond just like
Yeah, we didn't
version.
just have
Osha's point of
souls.
view.
Yeah. I think it was the truest version of events that we will see.
And I appreciate. I mean, obviously, I didn't think May set the fire with the intent to kill her sister, who she loved. But I appreciate that May did start the fire of her own accord. It wasn't like somebody went start a fire. It was just like I'm an upset kid.
Yep.
And
And
I
you could
fucked
see
up.
and you could see when she dropped the book and it started climbing up the wall, she's like,
Yeah, the
that's not
electrical
supposed to happen.
Right.
This is a bad move.
I do still think the place went up a little bit too fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
But dark side shit goes up like paper. So
Yeah, I also
the Sith are
appreciate
paper mache.
like I feel like Saul is still my Jedi because everything he did, like I said, I would have done in that position. Also, he didn't know what NSA was doing. So he's like, stuff's happening. He's about to be attacked. She might be trying to attack him. I'm gonna saber this. Oh, I actually got her.
And
like
he's the cop shooting at an acorn. Like it's
and especially since Tobin brings up the Dathomir witches, so they're aware of these weird freaky cults.
Right.
So when she starts doing this material thing, I would probably think she's
I think he had totally justified it and busting on his lightsaber, right? And you can see the moment that clarity happens for him, he's devastated. He takes the blows. He just keeps himself from dying.
I don't know that I would say he's justified. I would say it's something I can understand. And something that I wouldn't say. It's not something that I would say you idiot, you fucked up. It's like fuck, you were in a bad position.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't have been. I would say it was the best case of a bad situation. Like you don't know what's about to happen. You have a Padawan with you who could be compromised at any moment. You're not really trusting that,
right? Like they went in too hot. Like and everyone in there was already too hot. And my personal belief is that Anastasia was just trying to do a basic teleportation spell. She was trying to get herself and May out of there.
Oh, 100%. Because you saw May start to do the whole flaky thing too.
But you see this woman who you don't know and who is potentially trying to kill you start to turn into black smoke, and then the girl who you think you're trying to save because he thought May was Osha in that moment is starting to turn into black smoke. What are you doing? What are you doing?
There's a bunch of bow and arrows pointed right at you.
What do I do? Shit, stab.
Yeah.
Like I haven't made mistakes like that with the same level of stakes to it.
I haven't killed a person by accident.
I've never killed somebody by accident, but I've had to make snap decisions that were wrong.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I get it in this particular context. And then it all went to shit for him.
It went really south, but I appreciate he knew that. He knew he messed up bad.
Right.
And
he was going to turn himself in.
Yeah. He wasn't going to turn himself in.
And then Indara was like, don't.
Yeah. He wasn't fighting Coral. He just took the blows. He disarmed her.
He defended himself, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Fight. That's why she was like, fight me. And then I just think he took once he got the clarity and realized, oh snap, he did everything I would say correct for the wrong situation. After that, he didn't start defending crazy. He put away his saber. He did everything. He clearly was upset. And one thing I don't know if maybe because I did go back and watch it and I can't quite tell when he and Indara get grappled. I almost feel like Indara could read the emotion of what Saul was feeling because she almost had a sense of sadness on her for a split second.
She's a Jedi.
So I look at that as unspoken context of Saul, you got to stop this. Saul's mad. She realized my I was like, Saul, I get it. You messed up bad. But everybody who's like, Saul's evil now. It's like, no. Plus, they're Jedi, right? If Jedi make mistakes, because you remember the mission they're on, I feel like in a situation in this setting, you have Jedi, crazy powerful paladin-esque thingamabobbers. They're not gonna make a simple mistake when they make a mistake. It's gonna have
the stakes are gonna be higher.
Yeah.
And I think for me, a lot of what keeps Soul from being this evil guy is that you the level of regret and the level of just the remorse about the whole situation. You could tell right away he didn't even want to have made the choice that he made between the two sisters.
Yep.
But
Okay.
I think he also, and this is just me taking things from the performance that might not be, I don't know if this is text or subtext or what. This could be just me. I think he also is conflicted as to, like, when he thinks about it, saving Osha over May, was that just because he had to make a snap decision, or was it because he really didn't give a shit about May? Like, I think there are nights where he lies awake and goes, what did I do that because I had to, or did I do that because
Um,
fuck this other kid? I don't
my
know, and that makes him more
yeah, my
upset.
theory on that is I'm like they seem to establish like they've kind of been convinced that May was already compromised. She was already marked
Compromise.
and do whatever. Like she was a call. Like I
And
think
she didn't want to
yeah.
join the Jedi. She didn't
He
want to help with
was
that.
yeah. He was I think in a sense letting his own
Mm-hmm.
self-interest. He wanted a Padawan.
Right.
May clearly wouldn't want to be a Padawan, and he chose the kid he was pretty sure would go with him and go to the Jedi Order.
Right. Which does
Which,
fly in the face of his
yep,
duty. His
yep,
duty would, like, in a perfect world, his duty is save both of them.
yep.
Yeah.
Could he have done it? I don't know.
It,
And I think that at least if I were in the writer's room, or if I were the actor, there would be that subtext of he's not even sure if he could have done it.
yep.
And,
Right.
like, could I have done it? I don't know. I chose this because
It
of
was the easy
reasons I
path.
don't want to confront. You know,
Yep.
like
It was an easy path. Save only one, less effort. I'm going to save the one that I think will be the easiest to become a Padawan.
right,
I think
the
he
one that
chose
means
the
more to me.
Yeah.
yeah, I think he chose the one that has the blankest slate to become a Jedi, sure. But my takeaway, and I do like that, it's very interesting, but I did view it as I can't save both of them. I gotta
It's
make a
entirely
call.
possible. Yeah, it's
And
entirely
then
possible.
the only reason I think that through the episode is that we see even when he's got his full attentions on Osha, it still collapses.
Yep.
And I feel like he was like, I can't. Why are they standing still? But like, it's just
yeah, that was. I think that was a dramatic choice, and that we're not meant to take that moment literally of just the two kids reaching out for each other, saying each other's names for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
I definitely think it was in real time would have been faster, but
Yeah.
I definitely that took me out. I was like, guys, come on, where are your survival instincts?
And I do kind of call a little BS on everyone going, "Oh, he could have easily held both of them." I was like,
He just got his ass beat by a
"Where are you
Wookiee.
going with
Yeah,
this?"
right?
Please,
he
please.
just survived a
Yep.
Wookiee. I'm like,
Exactly.
okay.
He just got his
Yeah,
ass
like-
beat by
like-
Kel Naka. Like that's why I'm like he probably might, maybe he couldn't have. I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm sitting there going, we've seen plenty of times where a Jedi does something that they couldn't do. Like, just argument's sake, going off of here. In episode 5, Yoda lifts the X-Wing, and he does it kind of fairly just casual, like, oh, I'm lifting, I'm moving it. But then a pole, not the size of an X-Wing, he's like, oh gosh, I can't lift this. So we can't really gauge what a Jedi can and can't do with the Force and what they can lift easily.
I think a
part of
lot
it's
of it
duress.
is duress, context. Like
Yep.
like it's very clear over the course of the many entries of the franchise that the Force and the ability to use the Force is reliant upon the individual's state of mind in that moment. And whether or not are they tapping into their emotions? Are they at balance? Are they at peace? You're stronger when you're at peace, very clearly.
Yep.
Because Luke was able to project himself across the fucking
Universe.
the fucking galaxy,
Yeah.
and troll the shit out of Kylo Ren. But also, anger has been shown to be an incredible source of power.
Mm-hmm.
But like everything in between, any amount of doubt undermines it.
Yep.
So like,
And
you can't. There's no consistent level of power, which also brings to mind like fucking power scalers are the worst.
yeah.
People who sit there and all they talk about is like, oh, well, could this guy beat this guy? It's like, well, he lifted an X-wing out of a swamp. It's like, yeah, but he couldn't even lift that pole that one time. Like, shut the fuck up. That's not how this. Like that's such a boring way to approach fiction, and I fucking hate it.
And
Oh, yeah,
bring
that's
it up
always annoying,
also
yeah.
to that point to you going, we're not in that same situation. I remember, like, just going off of it's a little silly thing,
Uh-huh.
but I think it plays to this. I remember when I was young and I first saw Planet of the Apes,
Okay.
and Tyler is trying to communicate to the apes that he can speak and all that. And as a kid, not thinking about it, I'm just sitting there going, I would just say my name. I don't get why he's struggling because
Right. The
I'm not in that
viewer is
situation.
omniscient in that
I
way. Yeah.
can't put together. I've never been shot in the throat before, so how do I know
Uh-huh.
what you can and can't do?
That's that good CinemaSins brain rot of like, well,
Yes.
why didn't character do the most optimal thing in that moment
Yep.
that I could think of, having had the 3 hours after the movie to think about it? Like,
Yes.
or even just in the moment with my current knowledge of the
Yep.
things that are happening outside this scene that the character might not know. Like,
Yep.
that's another awful way to fucking consume
Yeah.
and interact with fiction. It's like,
And
people in real life make fucking stupid decisions. I hear a noise in the middle of the night in my house.
It's
If I'm watching a movie, don't go down there. If I'm actually in my home, I gotta go check it out.
yep.
yeah.
One of the cats might have broken something. I go
Yep.
downstairs, I get murdered. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
yeah.
happens. It
Yeah.
happens. People
It's
do dumb shit, and we need to be willing to let fictional characters do dumb shit.
yes.
Well, that's the thing, and I
You
think
know,
it's part of it, especially with Jedi, is idealized, right? These are perfect beings all the time, but they're not.
But they're not.
And
Exactly. They're not.
Yep.
That's such a strong part of the narrative is that the Jedi aren't perfect. They're not what they
Yep.
pretend to
right,
be.
but you have
Like
the fandom going, "This is the perfect
yeah,
optimal thing," and that's why I defend
like
Soul here against all the stuff on the internet because it's like. I know if I was in his situation, I read that mind. We're all trapped in here. I was there when May said everybody has to sacrifice themselves. I don't know what that means in this
Mhm.
context.
And
And
she was wrong too. Like what May said was not what Anasea had said.
yeah.
Anasea had said everyone must make a sacrifice, and then
Yeah.
of course because she's a little kid,
Yeah.
she misquoted it, and so it's like, well, fuck. Now everyone's got to like Soul sitting there going, this kid just told me that she's in a suicide cult.
yeah, basically.
So it's like I can
Yep.
see why Soul did the things he did,
And then
it's
Torben runs off like a jerk because
Right.
he's a Padawan. I'm not fully understanding. And then they're in a
and he's
courtyard
just
with a
been
bunch
rocked with a whammy.
yeah,
Like,
they got a bunch of arrows trained on them, and now there's a bunch of magic crap
Yes.
going on. I got to stop
Yes.
this. Like
Yes.
it makes total sense, and I just hate that people are like Soul or Torben should be expelled. I'm also thinking, really expelled? The Jedi spent all this time, resource, and training in them to just get rid of them? No,
And
they made a
Soul-
mistake.
and Soul was going to turn himself in.
Yeah.
He was going to go before the council and be like, I got a lot of people killed.
Yeah.
And Indara was like, fucking no, don't
And-
stop thinking like that. Sit down.
And I appreciate that. Like she's like, don't throw your career away for this one mistake. Learn from it and make sure it does you know what to do next time you're in this kind of situation.
Yeah,
Like
I can understand someone looking at Soul after all this and saying, I don't think he's a good person.
Yeah.
Like, and that's fine because that's such a subjective thing.
Exactly.
But to look at Soul and say he is objectively evil
No.
in the same setting that has fucking Darth Sidious,
Yeah, right.
like
And
in a setting where it's like you have
And even as,
actual
like,
forces of evil. Evil?
and
I don't know if he's
depending on-
evil. He might be a
Yeah.
bastard. He
Yeah.
might be a
Might be, like-
selfish prick.
You
But
definitely
you know
yeah,
what? He's engaging. He's
But
compelling.
that makes him human, which he is
Yep.
a human in this
And-
instance. Also, like I would even go start depending upon what the person was saying, be like, I don't even know if I would call him bad. He did some terrible stuff, but he wasn't like, I must steal this person. It's more like they're gonna do a suicide pact. There's dark magic, and I don't know what's going on, but something seems off.
And-
Like he made the wrong call with flawed intel that only he could get because he's not omnipresent like us watchers.
And to a degree, also, like we said, it's established he wants a Padawan.
Yeah.
I don't know if at this point he's a knight and he just wants a Padawan so he can become a master. Or
Right. They
what
never
have
really
you,
established
because
why. Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know, the reason Anakin wasn't a master was because he never trained a Padawan to knight.
Right.
And Ahsoka is literally the reason he never became a master.
This is outrageous. It's not fair.
Yep. So you can kind of understand, like, that's another thing. Like, the Jedi aren't just, like, they have desires. And
Right.
this was a desire that within the Jedi realm is a reasonable desire. You want to train and spread your knowledge. But we see now it could lead to being
Right.
bad things.
And
Yeah.
and for all we know, he wasn't ready. We don't even really
Yep.
know what
We don't know
happened
why.
that drove Osha away. Was
Mhm.
it Soul's training and the way he did it?
Mhm.
Or was it just that she was not, because they don't like to take in older kids, they like the babies, which is
Yep.
a little
Yeah.
weird.
It is a weird thing.
But like,
Listen, Jedi don't take kids unless we have to take kids. Then we take
right.
kids.
I mean, like it's a throwback to the roots, the inspirational roots of like the kung fu temples and all that. You from very young ages you're trained and whatever.
Yep.
But like, we don't know what that training was like, so it's possible that the reason he hadn't been granted a Padawan before that is because the council looked at him and went, bro, you're just not ready. You're
Yep.
not, you don't know how to teach yet. You
You're
barely,
a terrible teacher.
you became a knight 3 weeks ago, dog. Calm down. Like,
And
we don't have
for-
that context.
For all
Yeah.
we know, he might have been with them so he could see how she trains a Padawan.
Right. Yeah, it could have been he was shadowing Indara to be like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how you do it.
Yeah,
And
a
then he
student
wasn't paying
teacher.
attention. He was too busy going,
Yep.
I know what I'm doing,
Yep.
which is the classic
Master Soul.
failing of
Master Soul
a
just
Jedi.
writing in his journal.
Right. And that's the classic tripping point for a Jedi
Mhm.
is self-assuredness. Like,
Yeah.
every Jedi that you see get fuck themselves up is like, I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and then you look at the Jedi who are like, I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. They tend to do better.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
And,
about
and
this
we're going to
episode.
end this episode on it because we only got a minute and a half left.
Sure.
Episode 6, whatever, is like, I've thought about this for so long. You're gonna listen to what I have to say to you, and then we get this episode. Is this us the kind of what he's saying to her,
Oh, maybe.
or is this just, hey, this is
Or
what happened for
I
the big
was-
finale?
I
Maybe
was
that
actually
would be a cool
curious.
narrative device.
I was actually curious if this was what Osha's seeing in the helmet.
There's also that.
Also
which-
possible. Also
right. I wasn't
possible.
sure which way was if it was going any which of those ways.
I think both are possible. They're both great narrative devices. I do know that Rashomon was a big inspiration for the show,
Mhm.
and while I don't think that particular moment occurred in Rashomon, it's been a long time. But it feels like the sort of thing you might see in a film of like that era, like a Kurosawa film or something, like, having that vision with the helmet on, or let me tell you what happened, then it cuts to show us instead of
Yeah,
just dialogue.
Because I just figured it's all Saul's perspective, more or less. I
Yeah,
figured it was Saul
we'll-
talking to May.
I think we'll know at the start of the finale. I think
Yep.
they'll
Yeah.
make that clear whether or not the characters, because it's possible that it was not anybody
Anything.
communicating that, and it was just
Yep.
the show telling us. I don't know.
Right. It's true.
And we will learn soon enough, and then we'll be back here to discuss it. So, thank you all for watching. Let us know what you thought about the episode in the comments. And until next time, fearless gamers, take care.